Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Sure. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so today we have completed in the last session the complete aspect on input tax credit. So we have understood input tax credit thoroughly, gone through all the provisions, gone through all the implications, and then we have also gone through the practical aspects of it on how to solve the questions in your exam, right? Hope all the queries, whatever we had, it's all cleared because once you take a problem solving session, it gives you a practical exposure and we have understood how to present ourselves because that is mostly important that how you present your answers that is very important. So since we have learned that, which means that we have understood full aspect of input tax credit and that learning will also help us to see how to solve any question in this indirect tax topic itself. So our presentation should be very good and what we want to say which we know but it is obvious even that we will have to mention. That's why we had mentioned few notes, right? Even if a number is being mentioned, why is that mentioned, what is the reasoning behind it, even if you don't remember the section that's fine, but the logic what it is that you'll have to write and we have to remember the important sections, like for input tax credit section 16 is important, for blocked credit section 17 is important, and for other cases section 18 is important. So such cases, so issues in case of supply section 7 on supply and scope of service, scope of GST, the levy provision in section 9. So these sections, wherever you can use them, please use them because these are the important sections. And then how to present yourself, give sufficient space because you may not anticipate that you will need a space. But after working out, you will feel that okay, I have to give some working notes. So give the working note somewhere and give reference in the table itself. That is a good thing to do because if you have space, good enough, mention the workings there itself. If you do not have space, give working notes so that when you give working notes at the end of your presentation table, mention the column on working notes and give the numbers. You may have multiple working notes. Give refer working note number one. Then go to the end of the page or next page, mention working note one. So the workings will be given there. So like that, the linkage can be established. Okay. Was there any doubts in terms of input tax credit or problems? So we can take that up. Then we can go to the topic for discussion for today, which is registration under GST. So any questions till now on any of the topics, we'll be happy to help you. Question number 26. Okay, question number 26 and question number 34. Okay, we'll take that. Question number 26 is very simple, right? What is the answer you have got? CGST of 5,850, SGST of 5,850, and IGST of 24,300. No, that's not the answer. Anyone else who has tried question number 26? Vismita, what is the doubt in question number 26? Okay, this is question number 26. Vivita and Company, a registered dealer in Ludhiana, furnishes the following details. Whatever he has purchases, this is the details. And purchase from local market, purchase from Jaipur, and sales what he's made. So, very small question. From this, we are required to determine the sales amount, compute the net CGST, SGST, and IGST liability, what is payable. Okay. For question number 26, the answer is this. Interstate sales, he's made goods A. I will, same like last time, I will share both the screens so that question and answer both are there in one screen itself. Yeah. Question number 26. Here it is. The sales have been mentioned here. 40,000 of interstate sales. So you'll charge IGST. Goods B, again, interstate sales, 25,000. And then intrastate sale is sale of goods B at 35,000 value. On that, it is 18%. So your output tax is this much. Your ITC, how much is the ITC? You have to have a working of how much ITC you have. On goods A, which is purchased from local market, is 50,400. On this, GST is included. So you will gross it up and calculate the GST. How much is the GST charged on goods A? It is GST at 12%. It is inclusive. So we have to do this formula, which is total value of the goods divided by 112 into 12, right? And for goods B, it is 82,600 divided by 118 into 18. So since good B is purchased from Jaipur to Ludhiana, it is interstate purchase. So IGST is charged by the supplier. This is the total tax, right? Now, how do you utilize this ITC of first IGST you will use, which is 2,700 of this. Sorry, 12,600 is the IGST. You will utilize 9,300 here. Balance you are utilizing towards CGST and SGST equally. Okay. After utilization of ITC of IGST, we will utilize ITC of CGST. how much is the ITC? We have 2,700. Out of that, 1,500 is used here. And similarly, SGST 1,500 is used. So credit utilized is complete. So GST payable is nil and there is balance of ITC. Clear with this? Somebody was giving different answers. Just correlate your answers with this. Nitin Prajapati, I think you had given a different answer. Vismita, what was your doubt here? Very simple question. Yeah, Arpit, your question on question number 37, I think the sum is correct because 5% what you have taken is coming correctly. Let me take you to that question. 1 minute. Any other doubts in this question number 26? Balance 2,400 IGST is left. In this, no. None of the IGST is left in this question number 26. You can't leave IGST back, right? So you have to utilize the IGST completely. So what will be left is 1,200 CGST and 1,200 SGST.
Uh, Good afternoon, sir. Sir, when we will pay, sir, the tax IGST 12,600 minus 9,333 balance is there.
Right.
300. And sir, CGST balance is 2,700 and SGST is 2,700, which we have to pay. And then, sir, we will
Correct.
set off. Oh, sorry, this is the balance, opening balance. Then,
Balance. Right.
the liability is 3,150 and 3,150. When we will
Correct.
subtract it, negative 450 will be there in both of them.
Right.
So, sir, 900 will be utilized from IGST.
Okay. So we had told no that IGST, whatever is the credit, you have to exhaust it first. You cannot go and utilize CGST and SGST without completely utilizing the IGST. So IGST has to be fully utilized, then you can utilize your CGST and SGST.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, so that's why if you see stepwise I mentioned ITC of IGST. First IGST is completely utilized here, then CGST, then SGST. Okay, anyone else? Question number 37, problem of 60 months and 5% of last class. Okay, question number 37. Look at that. Yeah, this we had worked out. Inputs, what is lying in stock is 12,000. Inputs in process, again 12%. Input contained in semi-finished goods. And then input on capital goods, which is used for 9 months, taking residual life as 5 years. So 51 months being remaining residual life, the working comes at 61,200. So amount to be paid is 1 lakh. So that is 72,000. How do we get the 61,200? On the remaining useful life. Okay. So you can do 72,000 into 51 by 60 also. Correct. If you do 5%, the answer is coming 28,800. Okay. Hmm. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't check this part. I will check and I'll get back. Probably during break or after break, I'll come back on this. Question number 34. Nitin, what is your question on question number 34? Okay. If there are no doubts further on any of the problem solving aspect, then let us get into registration then. Fine. Okay. Why registration? That is the first question. Okay. Before getting into the registration provisions, this is a procedural aspect, right? Because otherwise, input tax credit is all some legal aspect. Now, registration is a little procedural aspect. But basically, we need to understand when we read any law, why we are reading it, or any topic we are covering, why we are covering it up. So, firstly, we need to know why is there a requirement for registration. Okay. Nitin, question number 34, right? Okay, last question. We'll just answer this part. Question number 34. He just wants to know what is the correct answer. Answer is 36,000. Correct. 36,000 is admissible, and that's the right answer because only on the last aspect he will get that because the goods purchased against valid invoice from FF Limited and tax has been deposited. So answer is 36,000. Correct. Okay. Now, why registration is required? First is a fundamental requirement for identification of a taxpayer. How will the government know who's a taxpayer or who's not a taxpayer? So to identify that, it is mandatory to take registration. So first thing is it is a identification of taxpayer. Then it is also important that you be compliant. मतलब जो भी compliance गवर्नमेंट ने दिए हैं वो आप फॉलो करो. तो उसके लिए फर्स्ट स्टेप क्या है रजिस्ट्रेशन लेने का है फर्स्ट यू टू बी कंप्लायंट यू हैव टू टेक रजिस्ट्रेशन इफ यू टेक रजिस्ट्रेशन only then you can do other compliance correct so it is important that you do the first step properly and why registration under GST two reasons it legally recognizes a person as a supplier okay and second point it allows the you to collect tax you have made a supply of 1 crore rupees and you're not registered under GST. So is the GST payable on that or no? Okay, understood my question. Sales made 1 crore. Registration not taken. GST payable or not payable? What do you think? Okay. Here I need everybody's participation so that we can see what are all the conclusions you're getting. Kasak, Pallavi, you're saying not applicable. Can you tell me why not applicable?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, here registration is not taken, so that means the registration for GST number is required uh, for paying the taxes. So that's why it's not payable.
Okay. Since registration is not there, they cannot pay the GST. So since they cannot pay the GST, they cannot, they will not pay
Pay
the
the-
GST.
Yes, sir. They
Okay.
cannot claim the credit also.
Credit is separate. You're not talking only on the credit. We're only talking now on the sales part. They have made sales. On that,
Yes,
should they pay GST or not?
yes,
So your answer is not payable. Okay.
yes, sir.
So let me take another example to understand. So if we draw inference from income tax, then you will understand this better. In income tax, they say that any kind of income is taxable to income tax. Whether it is legal or illegal, it is still taxable in terms of income tax, right? If you do smuggling, okay, is it taxable to GST? Is it taxable to income tax or no? Do you have to pay income tax on that? It is illegal activity. But will the government say that, yes, everybody is seeing this, we have to pay, correct? So when any illegal activity can be taxable, right? Then why not a taxable activity? Now he has made a sales of 1 crore. Now he has not taken registration. Okay. So will you not collect GST from him? Will the government be quiet saying that, yes, how we have, it doesn't matter if it is legal or illegal in income tax. Similarly, here also, the supply provision and the levy provisions says there shall be payable a tax. The levy provision itself starts with these words that there shall be leviable a tax called as goods and service tax on all supply of goods or services, right? So when you make any supply, whether you are registered or unregistered, once you cross the threshold limit, then you are liable to pay GST. How you will pay, that's a separate aspect. But whether it is payable, yes, the answer is yes. Once you make any supply, whether you are not registered also, you are making a taxable supply, which is crossing the threshold limit, so you have to pay. So why will somebody take a registration just to pay? Because if he registers, then he can collect the tax from his customers. If he is not registered, he will be liable to pay, but he cannot collect from his customers. Because to collect from the customer, it is like government giving their right to you, saying that I am giving a right to collect taxes on my behalf. Because ultimately, whatever taxes we collect in our sales invoices, in our debit notes, we will collect it and pay that much to the government. So government is giving you this responsibility to collect the taxes on the government's behalf and pay to the government, which means that earlier what used to happen, every transaction has to get reported. Now every transaction cannot get reported. Of course, you have e-way bill and things like that, but ultimately it will be payable. So how do you pay without registration is a separate thing. But to answer that question, that if I'm not registered, I should not collect is the wrong option. Your liability will still be there. Even if you do not remit it, then there'll be charges of interest and penalty leviable on you. You do not have a right to collect it. 1 crore ka sale kiya, registration not taken, GST will be payable. Okay. Now you're not registered, so you cannot collect or recover taxes from the customer. But you have to pay. your liability doesn't get vanished away by registration or no. Your liability still is sacrosanct. Once you are registered, the advantage is you can collect it from your customer. Okay. That is the aspect on second point. Why registration is required? Because only a registered person is being given a right to collect taxes from anybody. Without registration, if you collect any taxes from the government, that will be treated as incorrect or illegal. So he can claim ITC, yes. So he can claim the ITC also. So the second advantage is he can collect taxes and he can claim any credit of taxes. So any purchases what he's doing, any kind of expenses which is incurred on which GST is being charged, only a person who is registered can claim the credit because the unregistered person is not allowed to claim any credit. The requirement of claiming input tax credit itself says that the registered person. So the law itself in those six conditions they have not mentioned, but in the opening paragraph, in the first line of the law itself, they have said that when you any person who is registered under this act can claim the credit, which means registration is mandatory. So why do we do registration? Let us recapitulate for three things. One is to legally recognize a person as a supplier because you have to get recognized that you're a supplier. For that, you have to take registration. Second is if you are registered, then you can collect taxes from a customer. Third is you can claim any input tax credit on the purchases, on the expenses what you incur, right? So you're getting two advantages. You can collect the taxes from the customer and you can claim the ITC. See a flip side if you're not registered. If you're not registered, you're making a sale which is crossing the threshold limit. You will not get any benefit of your input tax credit and you will not get the benefit of input tax credit. And second part is you can claim the credit. You can collect from your customers and you can claim the ITC. So two advantages are there when you go for registration. Okay. Does that mean a person not registered is not liable to pay? Like how I seven said you an example, and you said some people said no. If you are not registered, you don't have to pay because you're not registered. So how will you remit it? So if you're not registered, your liability for payment is still there. But instead of paying it now, you will apply for registration, and once you get the registration, you will pay the taxes. There's no stoppage for you that no, you cannot pay the taxes. That's why we'll see who is a taxable person, who is a registered person. Taxable person means a person who is registered and who is liable to be registered. Who is already taken registered, he is definitely a taxable person. And a person who has crossed the limit but not taken registration, still he will be treated as a taxable person itself. And tax will be collected from him. If you register, collect from the customer and claim ITC, pay the collected amount from the ITC. But if you are not registered, you cannot utilize the ITC. That becomes a cost and you cannot collect from the customer as well. So see the double impact of that. So what it says is he is still liable to pay, but not entitled to collect because the charging section 9 says that there shall be levied a tax called the CGST and collect and shall be paid by the taxable person. Correct. Sir, will there be any penalty if registration is not done after threshold limit? Yes, there will definitely be penalty saying that you have done the register, you have not done the registration in spite of your crossing the limit. So penalty also will be there. Yes, and once the threshold limit crosses, then he will have to anyways compulsorily take the registration. So 1 crore in my example was very exaggerated. Key one time, how can you have? But slowly over a period of time, you can have a higher sale, increase sales step by step. So once you cross the threshold limit in 1 year, then you have to take registration. So 20 lakhs is for general in for all states other than specified states. The limit is 20 lakhs for services and 40 lakhs for goods. So if you have crossed 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh in this year and you have not crossed 20 lakh rupees. So your sales for this year is only 19 lakhs. So no GST payable, no registration required. But if you make higher sales and then your input tax credit, okay, once you make a sales, then you will have to register itself. Once you cross that limit of 20 lakhs for services and 40 lakhs for goods, you have to register in a year. If you have crossed your sales is only 19 lakhs, say you're providing services and your turnover is only 19 lakhs, then you don't have to take registration. Second year, it became 21 lakhs in only that year. So in that year, you have to take registration. And in year three, it again falls down. Then what you will do? Say 2023, 24. As I said, it was 17 lakhs. 2024, 25, it is how much? It is 32 lakhs. So when will you take registration? And in the third year, again, it becomes 17 lakhs. So tell me in this case, shit, will you take registration in 2023, 24? 23, 24? No. Since it's a service, so we will register in second year. So here we will register. Correct? This year you will register. After this first year, you have said you will not register. Okay. First year, no registration. Second year, registration. Third year, what will happen? In 2025, 26, your turnover is 17 lakhs. Continue forever. Correct. So what will happen that once you have taken registration, okay, once you take registration, then the limit will not apply. Once you are into that system will not allow you to go outside, even if your limit falls below the threshold limit. Okay. So once you have taken the registration, then you don't have to keep tracking of the turnover because once you are registered, you're in. You will not get any exemption. You will not get any benefit if your turnover falls below also. Okay. So that is the beauty of registration that once you register, you're always there. Okay. He's still liable to pay, but not entitled to collect. Somebody is asking, what do you mean by not entitled to collect, sir? Madam, I sell goods to you. Okay. Now, will you pay me GST if I ask you GST I and I tell you that I'm not registered under GST? If I tell you that yes, I'm not registered and I still collect GST from you, are you ready to pay me the GST? We would not pay, right? Because you know that you are paying taxes in the name of taxes, but you are not registered. Then I will not pay you GST. Similarly, if your question was what happens in such situation? If you are not registered, you will not pay. Only if you're registered, you'll pay. Correct? So that's the reason that a person who is registered will always display that he's registered and he will collect it. So a person who is not registered cannot collect it, because even if he's not registered and he collects it, there's no guarantee that he'll pay to the government. So he's not authorized itself for the first leg to collect any GST. Okay. So from an unregistered person, if you're buying, you should not pay the GST. But I think your question was something else. Okay. So this is the aspect on how to calculate the turnover. Once you cross the limit, then you're registered and pay the taxes always. A consultant with turnover of 50 lakhs is not registration. What will he do then? What will he do? Very simple. He will take the registration, because registration ensures seamless flow of credit from the supplier to the recipient. And registration is PAN based. Yeah. So a consultant for that question, answer for that question, a consultant whose turnover is 50 lakhs, he will have to take registration and he will have to pay the taxes. What is the parts on registration? Registration is ensuring seamless flow of credit, right? GST ka backbone is the credit itself, correct? Input tax credit is the backbone. This credit has to be passed on, because when unless you're a end customer, end consumer, the GST input tax credit chain has to continue. If that chain has to continue, then one person has to supply to other person has to supply to he has to supply, and taxes also has to flow in. Okay. Once the taxes flows in, only then it will be beneficial. Fine. In one PAN, how much registration we can take? We'll tell you. So, firstly, registration ensures seamless flow of credit. Registration is PAN based. You have to get a PAN card if you don't have a PAN card. Based on the PAN card itself, your registration number comes in. So, you have to obtain a PAN card. Only a PAN per registered person can take the registration. Of course, if he's a non-resident, then PAN will not be required, but a resident will always be required to obtain a PAN. If it's a company, company PAN comes in separately. If it's a LLP, LLP PAN comes separately. So each of these individual person's PAN has required, and you don't have to take separate registration for CGST, SGST, or IGST. One registration is sufficient for all the acts. And Nayan Patil's question is, in one PAN, how many registration we will take? How many we can take? We can have multiple. So there is no limit, no Nitin, not only one. You can have multiple registrations. Agar if you have multiple branches in a state and you want each individual branch to have a registration, you can have it. Or for all the registrations, all the branches, say you have 3 branches and one head office. All the 4 places can put together take one registration, or you can have multiple registrations. It can be taken one registration for PAN, right? No, you can take multiple registrations. Sir, if turnover not cross the threshold limit, then not required registration in the case GST collected from kind final convert. So if Bhavna, your question is if not crossing the threshold, then you don't have to take registration. And if you're collecting GST, then that is illegal collection. Okay. Another option is you are not crossed the threshold limit, but you still want the registration. You can take that is called as voluntary registration. Once you cross the limit and take the registration, that is normal registration. But second scenario is we have not crossed the threshold limit, but still you want to take the registration, you can take it. Then you can collect it from the customers. Multiple registrations for multiple business, yes, possible. Yeah, on that principal place of business, additional place of business, Nitin, I'll just come. What illegal, Bhavna? What aspect did I say it is illegal? If you're not registered and you're collecting, then it will become illegal.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
Good afternoon.
सर अगर थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट क्रॉस नहीं होती है तो रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं होगा।
वॉलेंट्री रजिस्ट्रेशन मिल जाएगा ना, अगर थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट क्रॉस नहीं हुआ तो भी आप रजिस्ट्रेशन ले सकते हो।
ले सकते हैं लेकिन कंपलसरी तो नहीं है ना सर। तो
कंपलसरी नहीं है।
उस केस में फिर हम जो जीएसटी है वो फाइनल कंज्यूमर से कलेक्ट करेंगे।
अगर रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं है तो नहीं कलेक्ट करेंगे।
ओके, मतलब अगर थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट को क्रॉस नहीं करते हैं तो भी नहीं करेंगे।
करेक्ट।
ओके, ठीक है सर।
Kasak's question is one person having one PAN can take multiple registrations, but for if the person convert to company, then he can have same PAN and registration? No. So you are an individual, you have started your business, a small business. So based on your individual PAN, you have taken your GST registration. Now your business grow and you have converted your proprietorship into private limited. Okay. Income Tax Act says that a company and an individual are separate people. Correct? Each is a separate person. So if they are separate person, you have to take new PAN for the company. Legally, it's a different entity. So since you're taking a separate PAN, it's a separate legal entity. So you have to take a separate registration for the company as well. Your existing registration will not get converted. You have to cancel that registration and take a new registration in the name of the company. One person PAN. Yeah, this has been discussed. New registration and new PAN for company. Yes, because a proprietorship is separate, a partnership is separate, a private limited is separate. Each of these three, a HUF, a association of persons, all of these are treated as persons in the Income Tax Act as well as in the GST Act. So each these persons which are separate, okay, cannot be merged together. I have voluntary registration, but my limit has crossed. Then I continue with voluntary registration. Yes, you will continue. Whether once you have registered and then you are crossing the threshold limit or not crossing, that will not matter. So you can surrender the old registration and take the new registration. If you are going to purchase biscuit packet of 5 rupees, then GST is included. See, on all these consumable products or FMCG products, when you buy, on the product, what will be written? MRP is written. What is MRP? Maximum retail price inclusive of all taxes. So it is inclusive of the taxes itself. So when you are buying a biscuit packet of 5 rupees, on that GST is collected. So GST will be collected by the shopkeeper. From the main manufacturer, he will collect it from the distributor. Distributor will collect it from a retailer. Retailer will collect it from you. So MRP means that it's a maximum retail price on that GST has been collected. Okay. So we understood basically on how registration will evolve. Now I'll give you an example. You tell me what will be the scenario here. Okay, we'll see these conditions, then we'll come back to the questions. No centralized registration, which means that you cannot take one registration across India and do your business. You have to take registration in each of your states or union territories. You cannot take one registration and apply it across. Take registration for each states. You have branches in 10 places, take registration in 10 places. But within a state, if you have multiple branches, then you don't have to take multiple registration. You can take one registration, but if you want, you can take multiple registrations in a state as well. So it is optional, not compulsory. Then register in every state from where you make a taxable supply. When you say you cannot take centralized registration, but you have to take registration in each of these states, you have to take registration in those states where you are making a taxable supply. Say your taxable turnover in Karnataka is 10 lakhs and exempt turnover in Maharashtra is 30 lakhs and aggregate turnover is 40 lakhs. So in this case, which state will you take registration? Bhavna, your question is valid. Now, when I said MRP, similarly, MRP products, we are buying it from a shopkeeper who is not registered. Then should he reduce the price because he is unregistered and you said you cannot collect taxes, sir? Even in that case, MRP will be at the same price itself. MRP will not change. Shopkeeper also will not give you any refund. He will not give you any deduction. The price will be inclusive of taxes. How will it be inclusive of taxes? When the wholesaler gave to the distributor, distributor claimed the credit. Distributor, when he supplied to the retailer, the distributor charged GST. Now, this retailer cannot claim input tax credit on this. So that's why that taxes to the extent of what is charged to the retailer, that will be included. So indirectly or directly, GST is always included on MRP products. Somebody has collected, if the retailer is registered, he would have taken the input tax credit from the distributor and he will charge you. But whatever he's charging, he will have to work backwards and not add any taxes on top of MRP because MRP is a regulation which says that that is the maximum retail price which you can sell at. If you are saying both, if you are saying Karnataka, if you are saying in Maharashtra, what is the correct answer? All type of answers I've got, very few on both the states. Karnataka registration is required. Maharashtra registration is not required because you have to take registration in every state where you make a taxable supply. So you're making a taxable supply in Karnataka and in Maharashtra, you're not making a taxable supply. So registration is not required. Exempt turnover means exempted goods and services. Yes, yes. That is the meaning of exempted turnover, which means you're making supplies on which there is no GST payable. Retailer is working from front end as wholesaler and distributors are handling this with GST from back end. Yeah, you can say it so because front end is he is ultimately supplying it to the customer. So it could be front end and whoever is supplying to him They are the ones who are supplying the things to him. Why do you think I have mentioned turnover in Karnataka? It's still 10 lakhs, just 10 lakhs, not even touch the threshold limit for services. And still, I've told registration is required. In future, it may increase the turnover. We are not looking for the future, we are looking for today. Okay. Today, we will have to see. Now, law cannot say that it is in the future you will make sales, so I will give you the registration today. That is not the point. Today's turnover I have given, so today you have to decide. Now, this is below the 20 lakhs limit threshold. Still, why I have told registration is required? Because you have to consider for the purpose of registration the limit of aggregate turnover. If your aggregate turnover crosses 20 lakhs, then you have to take the registration. In this case, your aggregate turnover is 40 lakhs. Because for aggregate turnover, we see the turnover of the total pan level. What is your sale? You have to see the aggregate turnover, which is pan level. पूरे India पे आपका कितना turnover है, that you have to see, and then you have to take a registration decision. Which would imply that no registration is required in a state if he is not making any taxable supply. If he is making a taxable supply, then fine. If he is not making a, he's no registration is required in a state where is not making any taxable supply. So overall aggregate turnover is crossing, but in Maharashtra, he is not making any taxable supplies, so no registration is required there. Branches within a state, you can have multiple branches in a state, but you can take single registration. In that single registration, you have to mention PPOB and APOB. What is PPOB? PPOB means principal place of business, and APOB means additional place of business. So if you have 10 branches in a state, then one branch, which will be the head office, mention that as principal place of business, and all other 9 branches you will mention as additional place of businesses. PPOB is principal place of business, APOB is additional place of business. If a person is having multiple places of business in a state, he may be granted separate registration for each place of business in the state or union territory. Okay. If you're having multiple place of business, then you may get separate registration for each place of business. The key word here is each place of business. Mumbai will be distinct establishment. Hardik, what is your question? Okay. Which means what? If a person is having multiple place of business in a state, then he may be granted separate registration for each place of business. For each place of business, he will be getting a separate registration. So, in situation 1, in this case, do you think separate registration is possible or no? Second one not here. Second one says that you have two business. Business one is also hotel. Second business also hotel. Two hotels you're running, but with separate locations. Here you are running IT software services and employee training services. Two separate businesses, but both of them are located in a common office. So in case of IT software services and employee training services, where the both of your office at a common office. Okay. Both your businesses are in one place of business, in separate business place of business. Separate registration is not possible since the business are operating from a common office because the location here is common office. And what does the provision say? If a person is having multiple place of business in a state, he may be granted registration for each place of business. But in one place of business, if you're doing two businesses, then separate registration will not be possible. Now, in second example, you see you're running hotel. Your business one is also hotel, business two is hotel. In separate registration because the principal place of business or what they say is having multiple place of business. Your place of business should be multiple. Then you can get a separate registration. If there are five places of business in one state, then can he obtain one registration for three places and one registration for other two places? Yes, that is also possible. And or he can take five registrations for each place, five different registrations. That is also possible. All combinations are possible. Clear with this? What you call as each place of business? So, but within the state, if we have same businesses, we can continue with the same registration. Now, within a state, if you have some multiple places of business, right? If you have same business, we can continue. But within same business also, Preeti, each branch may be having different input tax credit. Correct? One branch may have more input tax credit, other branch may be having less. So the owners may decide that we don't want to know, we don't want to do one registration and we just want to have separate registrations because we have maintaining separate books of accounts, we have separate staff. So for each separate branch, we need separate registrations. They can apply for separate registration and also. Now, some important definitions. What is a taxable person? A taxable person means a person who is registered or liable to be registered. Correct. It's an option of the company, not a compulsion. If you have separate businesses or you have same business at separate locations, it's optional, not a compulsion. Okay. Now, who is a taxable person? Taxable person means a person who is registered. Person who is registered will be called as a taxable person because he is a registered person also, and the taxable person definition says registered person also is a taxable person. So once you are registered person as well as taxable person. But if you are not registered and you are liable to be registered, when will you be liable to be registered? When your limit crosses, correct. So when your threshold limit crosses, then you are liable to be registered. So once you are liable to be registered and not registered, you are still called as a taxable person. GST is payable by a taxable person because If you're registered, you're definitely a taxable person. If you're not registered, then also you are a taxable person because tax is payable by you. That is what we are dealing in the first few slides, saying that if I'm not registered, can I say I will not pay tax? You will not be given that option because once you cross the limit, you are a taxable person already. Correct. When you're making taxable supply and threshold limit is crossed, then you're a taxable supply, taxable person. Person who is registered either due to threshold or voluntary registered. Unregistered person who is liable to be registered. That is, who is making a taxable supply and crossing the threshold limit. Okay. Now, registration. What are the sections we will deal in this registration topic? Section 22, person liable for registration. Section 23, person not liable for registration. There are some persons who are not liable for registrations. That is covered in section 23. Then 24 talks on compulsory registration. Section 24 says that even if your threshold limit doesn't cross, you still have to take registration. That is covered in section 24. Then section 25 says what is the procedure for registration. 26 says the deemed registration. 27 says on special provisions for casual taxable person and non-registered taxable person. Then 28 says that if there is any amendment you have to make, what is the procedure for amendment is explained in section 28. Then 29 says that cancellation or surrendering of registration. Cancellation we have heard. What is this register surrendering? Before cancellation, there is an activity called surrendering that is called as surrendering of registration. And then section 30 says that revocation of cancellation of registration. Your registration which is cancelled can get revoked. That is revocation of cancellation of registration. So these are the provisions which we will deal with. First is section 22. Section 22 says that every supplier of goods or services or both is required to obtain registration. Where in the state or union territory from where he is making a taxable supply. So basic section on registration 22 says that every supplier of goods or services who is required to obtain registration in the state or union territory from where he is making a taxable supply. ABC Limited is doing sales of goods from Karnataka to Karnataka. Where will they take registration? Karnataka. Yes, this is clear. Now they are making sales from Karnataka to Goa. Here, where is the registration required to be taken? Goa, destination state. Very good. In both the states. Very good. We should be having an option of poll so that you can vote for it because a lot of people are giving varied answers. Most of them have said that Karnataka. Few are saying that you have to take registration in Goa, and few other are saying take registration both the states, no tension only. Okay. Then I'll come back to the answer on this. So if this person has from Karnataka to, say, Tamil Nadu, then he has to take registration at Karnataka or Tamil Nadu. It's a destination based tax, sir. So you have to give the tax at the destination state. That is what is Mahi's interpretation. But most of them are saying that only registration in Karnataka. So people who are saying in these three examples, first example, everybody is aligned that you have to take registration only in Karnataka. For the other two, people are saying that you have to take registration in Goa. And third one, you have to take registration in Tamil Nadu and give the taxes to the destination state. So you have to go to that stage, only then they will get taxes there. From your state, you cannot pay taxes to that state. You can pay, right? So people who are saying you have to take multiple registrations or take registration in Karnataka and Goa, you are trying to say that wherever I do my customer, wherever I supply from Karnataka to Goa, it is. That is the destination state. Wherever I am transferring the goods, that state I have to go and register. That is practically not possible. And the government also does not want you to do something like that. So they are saying that in this cases, you do not have to take registration. You have to only take registration in Karnataka, and here also you have to take destination of only Karnataka itself. You do not have to go to that state and take registration. Of course, when you are supplying goods to Goa, the place of supply is Goa. So if the place of supply is Goa, doesn't mean you have to take registration in that state. If the place of supply is in a different state, then you will charge IGST and the central government will form modes on how to the taxes will go to Goa. You do not have to take registration at all such places where you are supplying the goods to. Clear? So in these situations, you do not have to take registration in those states where you are supplying to. You have to take registration only in this your state. Now, same ABC Limited is opened up a branch in Tamil Nadu is covered from Kerala. From Kerala to Kerala, you're supplying. Here is registration. Your head office is Karnataka. Now, where is the registration required? This is in continuation of the same, this is not separate, same continuation because it is same ABC Limited itself. What's the logic behind destination based tax? You have to refer to place of supply video of our lecture. If you listen to that video, then you will understand what is the logic behind destination based tax. If there is no destination based tax, then you will not know whether to charge CGST, SGST, or IGST. Since destination based tax is there, that's the reason you know the basis. If it location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, then you will charge IGST. And if the location of supplier and place of supply are in same state, you will charge CGST and SGST. That is the relevance of destination based tax and place of supply. Neha, Nitin are saying that you will take registration only at Karnataka. No. Every place from where you are making a taxable supply, you have to take registration. So you have to take registration in Kerala here. Karnataka you already have. Now you have to take another registration in Kerala. Okay. Now Kerala, you have already taken registration. Kerala, you have now second branch. So registration required at, say, Kerala 1. So I'll call this one as Kerala 1 and this one as Kerala 2. So is registration required at Kerala 1 and Kerala 2? No, not required. So correct. In one state, you can have multiple registrations. So separate registrations not required. Registration at Kerala 1, what is there? That you can add it here as additional place of business. But at choice of owner, he can have extra as well. Correct. So as the law, you can have same registration, but for Kerala 2, clear? So people who are saying that you have to take registration in all the places where you are supplying to, not required. You take only registration at the place where you are available and you can supply from here itself. If his aggregate turnover crosses the specified limit. So section 22 says that every supplier of goods or services is required to obtain registration in the state or union territory from where you are making a taxable supply if your aggregate turnover crosses the specified threshold limit. Now, what is this aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover, very important, is includes value of all outward supplies, which is taxable supplies, exempt supplies, exports, interstate supplies of persons having same PAN. If one person is having one PAN, you have to see the aggregate turnover for all the persons with the same PAN having includes taxable supplies, exempt, export, interstate of persons having the same PAN be computed on all India basis. And it excludes the GST what we are collecting. Whatever GST we are collecting, that need not be added in the aggregate turnover. Also, value of inward supplies on which you have to pay reverse charge mechanism, RCM, that is also not to be included. So in your aggregate turnover, you include only the sales part. Even though on RCM, you will pay the taxes, but that will you will not add it in your aggregate turnover. Correct. It also excludes interest, but that is coming through a separate exemption, not on section 22. And aggregate turnover could be 20 lakhs. The limit is 20 lakhs and 10 lakhs for special category states. What are these special category states? They are 4 states called TNMM, Tripura, Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur. In these 4 states, the limit will be 10 lakh rupees. Now, what all aggregate turnover values you have to include? Aggregate turnover to exclude inward supplies on which tax is payable under reverse charge. That is, recipient paying RCM will not include in his turnover, but it will be included in the turnover of the supplier, which means that if there is an advocate, if he is providing any services, he is providing services of 30 lakh rupees. Okay. Now, you are the businessman who have taken this 30 lakh worth of services from this advocate. Now, whether registration or no is a secondary question. Firstly, the question is in whose books will this turnover be considered? Will it be considered in the books of advocate to see the limits of the advocate or to see the limit of the of me, who is the recipient, whether the company or the advocate. Advocate supplier. Correct. It will be included in the aggregate turnover of the supplier. He will not pay the tax. Tax will be paid by the recipient, but still, for calculating aggregate turnover, it will be considered as aggregate turnover of the supplier itself. Okay. Second part. Aggregate turnover excludes the element of taxes. Whatever taxes you are collecting, don't include them. Aggregate turnover to include total turnover of all the branches. That is all GST registration under the same PAN. It could be in different states. That also has to be included. So aggregate turnover includes the total turnover of all the branches, and value of exported goods, exempted goods, interstate supply between distinct persons will also be included. So on exempted, you don't pay tax. On exports, you don't pay tax. Still, it will be considered for the purpose of calculation of aggregate turnover. And interstate supply between one branch to another branch, or from one state to another state, which you are making supplies, that will also be included. And then aggregate turnover to include all supplies made by a taxable person, whether on his own account or on made behalf of all his principals. So whenever an agent does any turnover, that turnover will be included all supplies made by a taxable person, whether on his own account or made on behalf of his principals. So even if he's making on behalf of his principal, that will be included. So that is the part on aggregate turnover. Okay, that limits what we will see in the next slide will be aggregate turnover basis, and aggregate turnover you would calculate on this basis. Okay, we'll take a break here and we'll come back at 4 o'clock and take the limits of aggregate turnover and what is the limits of the states and understand them. So, okay. So we have understood what is aggregate turnover. Now, we'll take some examples to understand what happens in what scenarios. Dayanand Sagar is providing legal services to Azim Premji Private Limited for rupees 30 lakhs. Now, in this case, please tell me it will be included in whose aggregate turnover? Reverse charge will be paid by Azim Premji. So, whose aggregate turnover will this be included in? Samsung SN. Please mention your name instead of mentioning your mobile number. So, it will be included in aggregate turnover of Dayanand Sagar itself because he is the supplier. Aggregate turnover has to be seen from the supplier's perspective. So, it will be included in his aggregate turnover. But, however, tax is payable by the recipient. Uh, Hardik, your doubt on composition, can we take up at the end? If you can take up your question at close to 4:55, so that we'll finish this and then we'll take your question. Aggregate turnover excludes CGST, SGST, IGST, but what about TCS? TCS, like how we had the clarification earlier saying in the valuation that TCS has to be excluded, same thing will apply here. TCS is an interim levy and not having the characteristics of tax, so it will not be included. Now the threshold calculation. So the threshold calculation is 20 lakhs for financial year. In value of supply, can we include TCS? No. That's what we are saying, that TCS effect will not be there. So TCS is a tax collected on source on top of the supply. So if I make a supply to you for 10,000 rupees, in the invoice, I will show 10,000 rupees and I'll show, but say if it is one person, 100 rupees also extra. So will the value be 10,100? The answer is no, it will not be 10,100. It will still be 10,000 itself because I'm supplying to you goods worth 10,000. TCS is a collection of an interim levy. It is not in the nature of tax. That's why you will show value of 10,000 itself. Clear, Vismita? Okay. Now the threshold limit is 20 lakhs for the financial year and 20 lakhs is reduced to 10 lakhs in the case of TNMM states. We know this. But then they gave an option to other states saying that if you want to reduce your turnover, you can reduce it. But before that, let us understand. Now for Tripura, Nagaland, Mizoram, and Manipur, the limit is 10 lakh rupees. So if a company has a branch in Mizoram and in Kerala, so what limit will you apply? Will you apply 20 lakhs for Kerala and 10 lakhs for Mizoram? 10 plus 20. So you are applying 30 lakhs then, Preeti. Mizoram lower limit. What about Kerala? Tripura 10, Kerala 20. Mizoram 10, Kerala 20. So 20 will apply. No. Where registration in GST and this will apply. Now you have two branches. So my question is, you have two branches. One branch is in Kerala and one branch is in Mizoram. So in that situation, what will be the limit which you will see? Now you have to take registration in both the states because in both the states you are making your taxable supply. No exclusion saying that it is not a taxable supply. So I will not take both the places you're making taxable supply. In one state, the limit is 10, one state, the limit is 20. And we have to see the aggregate turnover. Aggregate turnover is all India turnover. So then what will be the limit which we have to see? All India basis correct by Amar. All India basis only we'll see. Now for Kerala, if you have made a turnover of 11 lakhs, should you take registration or no? Correct, Hardik. Mizoram limit, we will see. So the effect of this is that if your threshold in the state crosses, if a company has a branch both in Mizoram and Kerala, then the limit in Kerala also is reduced to 10 lakhs itself. Because if you have turnover of say 7 lakhs in Mizoram, 7 lakhs in Kerala, then your threshold limit is crossed in Mizoram. So you will take registration in Mizoram. In Kerala also you will have to take because the effect is that in any of the special category states, if your limit is reduced and you have a branch there, then that limit will apply to other states as well. So your other state limit will not hold good. You will fall within those limits of the lower threshold of other states of that special category states will apply to you also. Clear? Kerala also pays on 10 lakhs, correct. Preeti, what I'm saying is that this example of, 20 lakhs is the threshold for Kerala and 10 lakhs is the threshold limit for Mizoram. Now, the effect that if you have a branch in any of these special category states, this limit will apply for the other states also. Okay. So you will have the limit of 10 lakhs applicable to Kerala also, which means that if you are doing a turnover of 11 lakhs in Kerala, even though the limit is 20 lakhs, but once you do 11 lakhs itself, you will have to take registration because that limit gets reduced to 10 lakhs for you in Kerala because you are having a registration limit of 10 lakhs in a special category state. Threshold calculation notification number 10 of 2019. The limit is 40 lakhs who are in exclusive supply of goods. Okay. The following person cannot opt for this benefit. So the limit of 20 lakhs became 40 lakhs for special some states. However, the following persons cannot opt for this benefit, which means if you are exclusively supplying the goods, only goods if you're dealing, then your limit becomes 40 lakhs. And if you are only dealing in services, your limit becomes 20 lakhs. But however, there are certain exceptions which says that a person who is covered under compulsory registration, then a supplier of ice cream, okay, under 24, we'll see that some category of people have to take compulsory registration. For them, threshold will not apply. So for them, that 40 lakhs also will not apply. Then supplier of ice cream, pan masala, tobacco and tobacco substitute products. Fly ash bricks, bricks of fossil meal, building bricks, earthen or roofing tiles. Then persons who are opted for voluntary registration, they also cannot now say about 40 lakh limits. And persons who are engaged in intrastate supply in 10 states, which has in effect 6 states. So important point to note for us is supplier of ice cream, pan masala, tobacco and tobacco substitute products who are suppliers of this, they cannot claim this exemption of 40 lakhs. Then fly ash bricks, bricks of fossil fuel, building bricks, earthen or roofing tiles, they cannot claim. Other things are fine because once you're voluntary register, you cannot take opt for it. And if you're compulsory required to registration, then also you cannot. And persons who are engaged in intra-state supply in this 10 states that I'll come to you in the next slide. So 40 lakh limits applies who is dealing only in supply of goods except ice cream products and bricks products. So this is the overall limit, what we are seeing, that 40 lakh and 20 lakhs will apply to all kind of states. Okay. That is Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, and all the states basically. Okay. When they say all the states except these states, that is 4 states here who's having one threshold limit and 6 states here who's having a different limit, and then balance states will have the third limit. So there are 3 types of states. Okay. First is Manipur, TNMM, Tripura, Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur. We know the limit is 10 lakhs there. The 10 lakh limit is for both goods and services. Okay. So 4 states, limit is 10 lakhs. 6 states, UP must. Okay, that's the name which one of the student had given. UP must hai. Uttarakhand, Puducherry, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, and Telangana. There, the limit is 20 lakhs for both goods and services. So 10 lakhs for goods and services, 4 states, 20 lakhs for goods and services, 6 states, and all other states, 20 lakhs for services and 40 lakhs for goods. Correct. Pan masala products also. Yes. We did TNMM, not TMMM. So 6 states कैसे किया हार्दिक? First is 4 states we did TNMM and 6 states USMA, then something else to make it 6, right? 6 characters were there. Then UP must US MAP, USMA PT. Yeah, USMA PT is also fine, or UP must, whichever you are comfortable with. Because usko to humko, we have to remember the name of the state itself. AP is must. That is also fine. Okay. So 4, 6, and all other states limit is 20 lakhs for services and 40 lakhs for goods. Persons exclusively engaged in intra-state supply of goods. So if you're making this 20 and 40, 40 lakhs of goods should be only intra-state supply, no interstate supply. If you make interstate supply, then the threshold will not apply to you. You have to make only intra-state supply. And like how Hardik was saying that even if he's engaged in exempt supply of services provided by way of extending deposits, loans, or advances, in so far as the consideration is received represented by way of interest or discount will not be included here. So any loan which you're giving and you're collecting interest, that value also need not be included here. Got this? This is very important slide for registration to understand limit. 4, 6, and others. 4, the limit is 10 for goods and services. 6, 20 is the limit for goods and services. And third limit is 20 and 40. इंट्रा स्टेट वन टाइम मोर, हाँ तंबेश्वरी, ये जो लिमिट है 40 lakhs का, जो आप 40 lakhs गुड्स के लिए बोल रहे हैं, हम बोल रहे हैं कि आपको 40 lakhs के गुड सप्लाई तक आपको जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन जरूरी नहीं है। वो 40 लाख सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स है, लेकिन कौन से गुड्स है? इंट्रा स्टेट, मतलब आप विद इन द स्टेट सप्लाई करते हो तो आपको ये लिमिट लगेगा। अगर आप इंटर स्टेट सप्लाई कर देते हो तो फिर आपको कुछ भी लिमिट नहीं लगेगा, क्योंकि जो भी पर्सन इंटर स्टेट सप्लाई करता है उसको इमीडिएटली रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना है, उसको कुछ भी थ्रेशोल्ड के लिए वेट करने की जरूरत नहीं है। अगर आप इंटर स्टेट कर रहे हो तो आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन कंपलसरी है। एंड सेकेंड पॉइंट on deposit loans, even if he is engaged in exempt supply of services by way of extending deposits, loans, or advances, in so far as the consideration is represented by way of interest or discount. If you are only giving deposit, loans, or advances, in return of which you are getting interest, even then this limit will not be counted. Okay, which means to calculate this limit, you have to remove the interest component. So 39 lakh worth of goods have sold. Okay, and 2 lakhs of interest. And I am in the state of Assam. Will I get the benefit of 40 lakh limits or no? I'll repeat my question. 39 lakh worth of goods, 2 lakh worth of interest. Overall, I've crossed 41 lakh. So will I get the benefit of no registration or should I take compulsory registration? No registration required. Correct. So that is what is the meaning of the second part. Interest has to be excluded. So even if you have crossed aggregate turnover above 40 lakhs, but exclude the interest value and then calculate the value of the goods what you're supplying. Job worker. In case of a job worker, what will be his turnover? The following supplies will not be included in his turnover. Goods returned to the principal, because when goods come to him, that is not his supply. So no question on that. He is getting goods from the principal. He is doing his job work activity and he is sending it back to the principal. So is it his supply? No, this is not his supply. So goods returned to the principal is not his turnover. Then goods sent to another job worker. So anything moving out from a job worker's premises, is that his turnover? No. He can supply the goods back to the principal. He can supply the goods back to another job worker, or he can supply the goods directly to the customer. Still, it will not be included because this is not his supply. This is all the supply of the principal. He is only doing the job work charges. Whatever is his job work charges, only that has to be included. Clear? Yes, Samsung providing loan deposits is a exempt supply of service. Job worker means a person who takes the goods of others and does some job working activity, which means he does some small activity which is related to the main product. Okay, like if you have to do steel rolls and you have to do some activity of, say, welding in it, and you do not have a welding as a manufacturer, you will give it to this job worker. He will do this welding activity and he'll give it back to you. So he is a job worker. Okay. Job worker and agents are same? No. Job worker is different. Agent is different. Agent is a person who connects you to your customer. But job worker is a person who does the work himself and gives it back to you. Goods returned to principal means I am a manufacturer. I have given the goods to you. You're a job worker. You will do the job worker and you will return back the goods to me, right? So that is called as returning of the goods to the principal. So what will be the turnover of a job worker then? Imagine the profit and loss account of a job worker. What will appear in his credit side of the P&L account? Correct, Niketana. Whatever is his job working charges, not job working commission, Ajay. He is not doing any agency business. He is doing the activity, say labor charges, job work charges, whatever he's doing. For that, he receives the job work charges or the job work income. That will be his income. That will be his turnover. So he may be getting goods worth 1 crore, but his income will be only 1 lakh. So his turnover is 1 lakh, not 1 crore. Okay. Like if you're doing a repair, if you're a service center of a car, you are getting a car worth 10 lakhs, but once you return it back, your sale invoice will not show 10 lakh rupees, right? Your sale invoice will show only the labor charges, repair charges. Similarly, in case of job worker also, whatever is his charges, that will be his turnover. Now, registration of for supply from or to. Okay. Registration is required only for a place of business from where taxable supply takes place. This we have already understood through an example, but we will just see whether our understanding there and here is correct. Registration is required only for a place of business from where taxable supply takes place. Further, registration is required to obtain only in a state or states where the supplier has a fixed establishment. And then, if a person has only license office or marketing office in a state, which means there is no active supply of goods or services and there is no taxable supply, then he is not required to obtain registration in that state. What does this mean? First two parts you have understood. What is the threshold limit for job worker? You tell me. What will be the threshold limit for job worker, first of all? 20 lakhs. Because job worker क्या करता है? Supply of service, right? He's not doing supply of goods. He's working on the goods, but that is not supply of goods. Okay? It is supply of services. His work is supply of services. Okay? So the limit is 20 lakhs itself. Yeah. Third part. Now, first two parts, everybody understood. Hardik, what is license office? Yes, that was a question which I was expecting. I will tell you what is license office. But first two parts you've understood. Registration is required from the place of business. Like how we gave an example of Karnataka to Goa, Karnataka to Maharashtra. We have to take the supply from where you're making supply. So if you're making supply from Karnataka to Goa, You do not have to take registration in Goa. You do not have to take registration in Tamil Nadu. You have to take registration only from Karnataka. Then registration is required to be obtained only in the state where you have a fixed establishment. If you do not have a fixed establishment, then not required. What is a fixed establishment? Fixed establishment means a place which has a permanence of human and technical resources. If you have some fixed employees sitting there, fixed employees working there, you have a fixed place, then that is called as fixed establishment. So if you have a temporary structure, then that will not be considered as a fixed establishment. जैसे आपने एक स्टॉल लगा दिया है and from there you're making any sales, that is not a fixed establishment. There should be some permanence, that is called as fixed establishment. The definition, if I can read for you, fixed establishment means a place other than the registered place of business, because your registered place of business is definitely first fixed place of fixed establishment. But any other place which is other than the registered place of business, which is characterized by a sufficient degree of permanence and suitable structure in terms of human and technical resources. Matlab, there should be some permanent human and technical resources to supply the services or to receive and use some services. That is called as a fixed establishment. Correct. Which we studied in 2 subsection 14 and 2 subsection 15, same thing. And third point now. If a person has only liaison office or marketing office, then there is no active supply of services what is making. So what is a liaison office? Liaison office means a special category of offices, which is generally done by a foreign company. Now, Decathlon, initially before they started their stores, they had a liaison office wherein they said that we will open up a liaison office. This liaison office will not do any sale activity. It will only do the marketing of our products. Any sale, if any customer wants to do, they will have to directly buy from the foreign company. That is called as a liaison office. So, liaison office does not do any business. Liaison office only promotes the main brand, or you can also call it as a marketing office, that it does only marketing services. It doesn't do any supply. So such liaison office are not required to take registration. So only say I have one office in Karnataka. For my products, I need to do marketing in the north. So I've opened up a marketing office. Marketing office will do only a marketing. If any customer wants the products, they will raise it on the Karnataka office. So Karnataka office will do the sales and the marketing office in Delhi will do only the marketing. So since that marketing office is not doing any supplies, that office need not take any registration. Prime drink promotion or to by Logan Paul in Delhi. Okay, something like that. License office can be multiple or single, can be multiple. Our representation office representative office for marketing for parent company outside India. Correct. But generally, it will be reversed because we are talking about GST in India, Abhishek. Foreign company having a license office in India, that license office need not take registration. Yeah, correct, Hardik. Got your point. The marketing office should be of a person doing supply, not a marketing business company. Not like that, it could be anything, could be any marketing. Aditya, I'm not aware of the webinar. Board of Studies will inform you on that. Yeah, treated as unregistered. For instance, Mr. X is having registered office in Delhi. He imports goods which are landed in Mumbai seaport. Mr. X enters into a sale agreement with Mr. Y located in Mumbai to directly sell the goods from Mumbai port. Okay. He is not doing anything. He is having a registered office in Delhi. He imports the goods which are landed in Mumbai port. Now, X is not required to obtain registration in Mumbai as he has no fixed establishment. On the second point on fixed establishment, this is the example. The goods are landing in Mumbai, okay? But still, he is not required to obtain registration because in Mumbai, he is not doing any business. It is the goods are only landing in Mumbai. His registered office is in Delhi. So even though the goods are landing in Mumbai, he need not take registration in Mumbai. Apply from any of the special category states, like what we had discussed, the example of Kerala and Mizoram. Again, another example here. Uday Enterprises is engaged in supply of taxable goods in Maharashtra. It also supplies alcoholic Nagaland. It's Nagaland is a special category state that where the limit is only 10 lakhs. Its turnover in the current financial year is 30 lakhs in Maharashtra and 11 lakhs in Nagaland. So same thing. Uday Enterprises exclusively engaged in making taxable supply of goods from Maharashtra. The applicable threshold limit is 40 lakhs. However, the threshold limit gets reduced to will not be reduced to 10 lakhs in this case as supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption or non-taxable supply. So in that case, we had to reduce, but in this case, from Nagaland itself, registration is not required. So why registration not required in Nagaland? Because he's not making a taxable supply. Had he made a taxable supply, then the threshold will get reduced in Nagaland and in Maharashtra. But in this case, since threshold is not applicable in Nagaland because he's not making taxable supply, so in Maharashtra, that limit will not get reduced. But however, overall threshold, if you see, it is crossing 40 lakhs. So for that purpose, it will obtain registration in Maharashtra. Correct. Had it been tobacco, then it will be liable for both the states. Nagaland, no, because there Nagaland he's making only exempt supply. If he's making taxable supply as well, then it will have to. registration, what happens in case of transfer of business. So that was on basic registration. Now, just a moment. Yes, Tambeshwari.
Uh, Sir, I asking that the special category stated Nagaland is exempted goods is to be supplied. So the Maharashtra limit is 20 lakh.
Maharashtra engaged in supply of taxable goods are mentioned.
Yes,
So
sir.
if it
But
is supply of taxable goods, what is the limit? You tell me.
it's means सर कि नागालैंड की तो सर लिमिट सर 10 लाख है, लेकिन सर वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है, तो महाराष्ट्र की भी मतलब कि 20 लाख होनी चाहिए, 10 लाख है क्या?
महाराष्ट्र की क्या लिमिट है आप बोलिए। हमने फर्स्ट कैटेगरी, 3 कैटेगरी में थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट डिसाइड किया था। फर्स्ट कैटेगरी के स्टेट्स कौन से हैं?
MMNT मिजोरम, नागालैंड, मणिपुर और त्रिपुरा।
करेक्ट। 4 स्टेट्स के लिए क्या लिमिट हो गया? 10 लाख
10 लाख
फॉर गुड्स एंड 10 लाख फॉर सर्विसेज।
सर्विसेज।
और सेकेंड कैटेगरी के स्टेट्स कौन से थे?
अरुणाचल प्रदेश, मेघालय, सिक्किम, उत्तराखंड, पुडुचेरी और तेलंगाना।
करेक्ट। इनके लिए लिमिट क्या है?
20 लाख सर।
20 लाख। अभी बाकी सब स्टेट के लिए क्या लिमिट हो जाएगा?
20 lakh for services and 40 lakh for interstate supply for the 40 lakh.
सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स 40 लाख। इंट्रा
Yes,
स्टेट सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स, इंटरस्टेट नहीं, इंट्रा स्टेट।
interstate वही सर।
ठीक है। तो फिर महाराष्ट्र के लिए क्या लिमिट होगा इस केस में उदय एंटरप्राइजेस को?
सर इस केस के अंदर सर गुड्स है, तो सर इसके अंदर 40 लाख लिमिट होगा ना?
करेक्ट। सो महाराष्ट्र को उदय एंटरप्राइजेस के लिए 40 लाख लिमिट है फॉर गुड्स। ठीक है। और
ओके।
नागालैंड का लिमिट है 10 लाख।
अगर सर ये टैक्सेबल होता तो महाराष्ट्र का भी 10 लाख होता।
करेक्ट करेक्ट।
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
ठीक है। Any more doubts on this? Okay. Now, once registration is there, and if some event happens, then what will be the date of transfer of business from where you have to take the registration? So once in case of death of a proprietor and there is a legal heir who is continuing, then the date of registration, but since the business is already going on, so we'll not see once you cross the limit and things like that, because the existing business is getting transferred. So this is a transfer of business. In such case, in case of death of a proprietor, the date of transfer or date of succession, that will be the relevant date when you have to take registration. So within that date, the date of transfer, 30 days within that, you have to apply for registration. Or if there is a succession, within 30 days from the date of succession, you have to apply for registration. Similarly, in case of a amalgamation or demerger, you will generally, what is the practical procedure which is happening is we will apply for amalgamation or demerger. But once you make an application, then you have to go to the NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. They will call for hearing. They will tell, conduct the board meeting, conduct the shareholders meeting, conduct the creditors meeting. If all of that is approved, then we will give you a approval. Then you go to the ROC and get a new certificate of incorporation. So you had planned that the amalgamation will happen today, but because of this court procedures, it's taking at least a year's time. So what will be the date of transfer in that case? The date from which the ROC, the registrar of company, issues certificate of incorporation. amalgamation, what is happening? Two companies are getting amalgamated and new company is getting formed. Or in case of demerger, one company is getting demerged to multiple companies. So in that case, the new ROC certificate which comes in, that will be the relevant date and not the date of the court order, because court will give the order. After that, you will go to the ROC. ROC will verify and then give you the certificate of incorporation. So that's why actually when you get the correct, the new certificate of incorporation, that is the time when you will apply for new registration. Going concern. Yes, it will become a going concern itself. So that was on section 22 on registration. Now we'll deal with section 24. 23 will come later on, because 24 is important to understand who has to take registration even if they have not touched the threshold limit. These following people, what I mentioned in blue, they are compulsory required to take registration. Exception I've given in the white part. Okay. Person making interstate supply. Any person who is making interstate supply has to take registration. उसके लिए threshold limit will not apply. In case of transfer, amalgamation, they're already registered. Correct, Hardik? So once in case of transfer or amalgamation, there are existing entities. Now, once they amalgamate, there is a new entity which is getting formed. Or if it's a takeover, then it's a different thing. So here they have said amalgamated. Once amalgamation happens, a new company is into existence. Then they will have to take a new registration. Amalgamation is different, takeover is different. In case of transfer, they have not said anything on transfer, right? This they have said only in case of amalgamation. In case of a transfer, existing business is closed and the new company is acquiring it. So that existing company's GST will continue. Succession means where the business is getting to the legal heir. That is called succession. जब फादर मर जाता है फिर उसका लड़का देखता है, that is called succession. From legal heir transfer. Okay, your transfer from legal heir to a person who is from a death person who is deceased to his legal heir, and legal heir is having an existing registration. That is what you mean, right? So in that case, this business will be treated separate and his existing business will be treated separately. So when a existing business is, when the legal heir has his existing business, then he can transfer the asset to his existing business as well.
Sir, I want to say, like, for example, if ABC Limited is a company, its legal, its owner is Mr. A, who died due to certain circumstances, and the business is transferred to his child, who is Mr. B. Mr. B does not have any business; he is not registered, but he is getting a new business from his father due to succession. And so, sir, he will only change the name only na, in the GST registration, or he will get a new separate registration in his own name.
Okay, so your facts are little contrary. You're saying Mr. A is the owner of ABC Private Limited.
No, sir, limited.
Limited, okay. Limited or private limited. It is a company.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The company, in the company's law, I remember my days when I read the Companies Act. The shareholders may come or go, but the company goes on forever,
Yes, sir.
right? So the shareholders are getting transferred. You cannot actually call one person as a owner because there'll be multiple owners. So
Yes, sir.
if the shareholder has died, his shares get transmitted to his son.
Yes, sir.
But company is same.
Yes, sir.
Company's existence continues. The shareholder may come and may go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is no kind of a transfer what is happening. There is only change of hands in the shareholder. Okay. So that is not a transfer. That is only changing of shareholding pattern.
Okay, sir.
Now, what can happen, extension of your question is when a company is having a shareholder, now shareholder expires and there is nobody to run the company. So the other directors decide that his son should continue the business.
Yes, sir.
So in that case, the son can continue the business with the same GST details, with the same PAN details, and he can do it. Now, if the son says, no, I want to transfer this business to another company, then that is a transfer where the company's business is getting transferred to another company. And if there's a new company which is formed, they will have to take a new GST registration there.
So, sir, same will applicable for the sole proprietor as well.
Yes, correct.
Unless and until he will not transfer it to his own business, he can run with the same GST.
Correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, compulsory registration, person making interstate taxable supply. Exception is taxable services. A person who is making taxable services, he can do interstate supply. Okay, he can do interstate, but a person making taxable interstate supply of goods, he will have to take compulsory registration. Then notified handicraft goods, there also this up to 20 lakhs and 10 lakhs limit will apply. Because up to for handicraft goods, they've said that you're making interstate supply, but still you do not have to register because your goods are exempted up to the limit of 20 lakhs in other states and 10 lakhs in special category states. You do not have to take registration, but once you cross the limit, then you will have to take registration. Okay. Second is casual taxable person. Who is a casual taxable person? A person who is not having a fixed establishment in a state. He's having registration somewhere else. But now he's coming in this state and taking registration for setting up a stall, doing something in the exhibition, etc. Then he will have to take registration immediately without any threshold limit. Making interstate supply, there is no limit. There is no limit. If because once you are doing interstate supply, then the threshold will not apply. You have to take registration and then do interstate supply. Again, here notified handicraft goods are exempted. Third is person required to pay tax under RCM. Now, if you have taken some services in the RCM, if you recollect, any entity who is doing a business activity, some entities are required to do pay RCM only if they are registered. Only if they're registered, that's fine. But person who are not registered, and when they have mentioned business entity, just say sponsorship services. Okay. Such services where the liability is on the recipient, then he will have to pay RCM itself. There is no threshold limit which is required. Non-resident taxable person, person who's coming from outside India to India, for him also no limit. E-commerce operator, also no limit. However, supply of services below 20 lakhs and 10 lakhs can claim exemption. Okay. Then TDS deductor, agent, input service distributor, or online information database access and retrieval services. These are the category of people for whom you have to take compulsory registration. Threshold is not applicable. Casual taxable person. Casual taxable person, Mr. Vivo, is a person who is not having registration in a state. He's having registration in some other state, but he's coming to this state and doing some supply, and he will go back. The casual taxable person's registration limit is only for 3 months. It's a short-term registration. He will do the short-term business and go back. So that's why the name itself suggests he's a casual taxable person, not a permanent taxable person. So this person will go back. So here, whatever sales he does, even if it is 100 rupees, 50 rupees, that's only a minor amount. But generally, a person who's having turnover of, say, substantial amount, but below the threshold limit, he will have to take registration. For him, threshold will not apply. He has to take compulsory registration. What is OIDAR service? Online Information Database Access and Retrieval Services. This means that if you're downloading any music services, if you're using any online services, okay, some person is providing you online database access. That is called as OIDAR services. So any foreigner who is providing you OIDAR services, he will have to come to India, take a registration, irrespective of his threshold limit, and discharge the GST. Correct. In Act, 3 months or 90 days is mentioned for a casual taxable person. That's what I said, no? 3 months. Did I say 6 months? 3 months. Yeah. 3 months is the limit for a casual taxable person. 90 days. TDS deduction, why registration? Because of a person who's a government, they are generally exempted. Okay. Now for them, they will have to do the TDS. So even if they get a supply for which they're procuring a supplies for 1 lakh rupees, the duty is cast on them to deduct the TDS. So for the TDS deduction purpose, they will have to take a registration. They will not be treated as a normal registered person. Only for the purpose of TTS deduction, they will take that registration. Handicraft goods are excluded from compulsory registration. Yes, both the places. If you see in the first and second, both of them are reduced. Input service distributor. Okay. In like input service distributor, not there for your syllabus, but just for your understanding. Input service distributor means a person who is like a head office. Okay. Who collects all the invoices from his vendors and distributes the credit to its branches. So input service distributor, as the name suggests, he is distributing the input tax credit to its branches in multiple states. He will get all the invoices. Okay. He will collect all the invoices from his vendors and he will then give to the credit to its respective branches in a proportion. So the work of ISD, or input service distribution, is collect the invoices and distribute the credit to its other states. What is e-commerce operator? We have already discussed this. आप जैसे Amazon, Flipkart, you buy something. What are they? They are e-commerce operators. Okay, so they are e-commerce operators. Composition and question 37, Hardik will take up in the next class. So in the next class, you ask your question first, and then we'll take up your question and then deal with it. Limit 23, 24, 18 lakhs, 24, 25. Is it include? Riddhi, your question is not clear. Are you saying the turnover each year is this? So should we take registration? Okay. So you're saying 23, 24 turnover is 18 lakhs and 24, 25 turnover is 27 lakhs. So will we include 23, 24's turnover here? No, we will not include. We will consider only the turnover for each year. For 24, 25, is it crossed independently? Then it is to be considered individually, not cumulative. Okay. Fine, then we'll continue this in the next class, and we have some more slides, some more aspects on registration. We'll try to cover that up. Thank you.